Hydroelectric energy, also called hydroelectric power or hydroelectricity. Hydropower is a form of energy produced through the power of moving water, such as the ocean, rivers and waterfalls. In this lesson, we will learn about the history of hydropower. Before going into history, we will learn what is hydropower. In modern technology, hydropower moves turbines that pass on their energy to a generator, which then produces electric power. Hydropower is a type of renewable energy. It has a long history. Since the early ages, water wheels have helped humans to do several works like irrigating crops and grinding grains. Also, it brought revolutionary improvement in the paper mills, textile mills, metallurgy plants. Later, the water wheels were replaced by the smaller, cheaper and more efficient water turbines. When the French engineer, Benoit Faunéron, introduced the first model in 1827. This was the first design of a reaction turbine capable of generating 6 horsepower or 4.5 kilowatt with 2 sets of blades arched in opposite directions. Probably, the most important year in hydropower history was in 1831 when the first electric generator was invented by Michael Faraday. This laid the foundation for us. After Faunéron, James Francis created the modern water turbine in 1849. It was called the Francis turbine, and it is the most widely used water turbine till today. The first impulse turbine was created in the 1870s by an American engineer named Lester Allen Pelton. It was named the Pelton wheel after it was patented in 1880. The world's first hydroelectric power plant was established in Appleton, Wisconsin, United States, along the Fox River in 1882. After that, over the next century, numerous hydroelectric projects developed all over the world.
नेपालको पहिलो हाइड्रोपावर प्रोजेक्ट फार्पिङ हाइड्रोपावर प्रोजेक्ट हो, जुन चाहिँ सन् 1911 मा स्थापना भएको थियो, जसको क्षमता 500 किलोवाट रहेको थियो। विश्वमा पहिलो हाइड्रोपावर युएसए मा बनेको थियो सन् 1882 मा। त्यो बनिसकेपछि 29 वर्षपछि चाहिँ फार्पिङ बन्यो। यसलाई सुरुमा चन्द्रज्योति हाइड्रोइलेक्ट्रिक पावर स्टेसन पनि भनिन्थ्यो र हामीले हाम्रो छिमेकीहरूलाई कम्पेयर गर्दाखेरि इन्डियाको पहिलो हाइड्रोपावर सन् 1898 मा दार्जिलिङको सिद्रापुङमा बनेको थियो, जसको क्षमता 130 किलोवाट रहेको थियो। त्यसैगरी चाइनाको पहिलो हाइड्रोपावर सन् 1912 मा बनेको थियो, जसको क्षमता 240 किलोवाट रहेको थियो, जुन चाहिँ युनान प्रान्तमा थियो। यो अब यी दुई कन्ट्री बीच कम्पेयर गर्ने हो भने पनि हाम्रो सबैभन्दा ठूलो प्रोडक्सन भएको हामी नै थियौं स्टार्टिङमा। र त्यो बेला फार्पिङको लागत भनेको 6,13,000 थियो र त्यसको ट्रान्समिसन चाहिँ 11 किलोभोल्ट लाइनमा चाहिँ ट्रान्समिसन गरेको थियो। र त्यो विद्युत निकालिसकेपछि त्यसलाई नियमन गर्ने एउटा संस्था चाहिन्छ। त्यो बेला चाहिँ श्री चन्द्रज्योति प्रकाश बिजुली अड्डा भनेर एउटा विद्युत अफिस खोलियो र त्यसपछि केही समयपछि 600 किलोवाटको सुन्दरी जल बनाइयो, जुन चाहिँ सन् 1934 मा बनाइएको हो। र बिजुली अड्डा पछि बन्द भयो, नयाँ गभर्नर बडी चाहियो त्यसका लागि र विद्युत कर्पोरेसन भन्ने एउटा विभाग खोलियो भाद्र 1 2019 मा, जुन चाहिँ त्यो बेलाको ऐन कानून अनुसार त्यो खोलिएको थियो। पछि इलेक्ट्रिकल डिपार्टमेन्ट पनि खोलियो, जसले चाहिँ प्रोडक्सनमा मात्र डिल गर्थ्यो र 2042 सालमा नेपाल इलेक्ट्रिसिटी अथोरिटी अहिलेको एनईए जुन छ त्यो चाहिँ स्थापना भयो, जुन चाहिँ विद्युत प्राधिकरण एक्ट 2041 अनुसार चाहिँ त्यो बनेको थियो। यसको मुख्य उद्देश्य भनेको चाहिँ जलविद्युत क्षेत्रमा निजी क्षेत्रलाई पनि समावेश गर्ने एउटा उद्देश्य थियो र विद्युत विकास केन्द्र खोलियो। त्यो लाइसेन्स जब प्राइभेटहरु आउँछन् त्यसलाई लाइसेन्स दिनुपर्ने हुन्छ हाइड्रोपावर बनाउनका निम्ति, त्यसको लागि चाहिँ खोलियो, जुन चाहिँ ऊर्जा सिंचाई तथा जलस्रोत मन्त्रालय अन्तर्गत राखेर त्यो विद्युत विकास केन्द्र चाहिँ खोलिएको थियो। र अहिलेको जुन डिपार्टमेन्ट छ विद्युत विकासको त्यो चाहिँ त्यही पहिलाकै एउटा ईडीसी को रिनेम गरेको अर्गनाइजेसन हो। हाम्रो अनुभव जाउँ अब झन्डै हाम्रो विद्युत उत्पादनमा 107 वर्षको अनुभव रह्यो। पहिलोबाट दोस्रो हाइड्रोपावर बन्नका निम्ति 23 वर्षको समय लाग्यो, जुन फार्पिङ 1911 मा बन्यो, त्यसपछि 1934 मा सुन्दरी जल बन्यो। यो दुईटाको ग्याप झन् 23 वर्षको रह्यो र पछि एउटा फ्रिक्वेन्सी त्यसको जुन घटाइयो सुन्दरी जल क्यापासिटीको र ल्यान्डस्लाइडले गर्दाखेरि तेस्रो हाइड्रो पावर एउटा चिसाङ खोला भन्ने हाइड्रो पावर ध्वस्त भयो, जसले गर्दाखेरि हाम्रो प्रोडक्सन चाहिँ फेरि 1.14 मेगावाटमा झर्यो। नेपालको अवस्थामा हेर्ने भनेदेखि 1965 पछि मात्र हाइड्रो पावर क्षेत्रमा चाहिँ एउटा विकासले एउटा गति लिएको देख्न सकिन्छ, जुन चाहिँ पहिलो हाइड्रो पावर बनेको 54 वर्षपछि हो।
ये वीडियो को स्टार्ट करते हैं। ये जो कंप्लीट डायग्राम आपको दिख रहा है, इसे हम बोलते हैं पावर सिस्टम सिंगल लाइन डायग्राम, जिसमें सबसे पहली स्टेज है दैट इज जनरेटिंग स्टेशन। फ्रेंड्स, मैं आपको बताना चाहूंगा पूरे इलेक्ट्रिकल में सिंबल्स का बहुत इंपॉर्टेंट रोल रहता है। ये पावर जनरेशन या फिर अल्टरनेटर का सिंबल होता है। ये सिंबल्स आपको हमेशा याद रखने हैं और ये स्टैंडर्ड है हमेशा। ये स्टेप अप ट्रांसफार्मर का सिंबल है, जिसमें प्राइमरी टर्न्स लो हैं एज कम्पेयर टू सेकेंडरी टर्न्स। ये स्टेप डाउन का, और ये तीनों स्टेप डाउन ट्रांसफार्मर्स हैं। तो जो इलेक्ट्रिकल एनर्जी प्रोड्यूस होती है दैट इज प्रोड्यूस एट जनरेटिंग स्टेशन। ये हमने एक स्टैंडर्ड लिया है 11 केवीए में। तो इस चीज को हमेशा याद रखना, जो इलेक्ट्रिकल पावर जनरेट होती है इंडिया में, स्टैंडर्ड इज 11 केवीए, बट और भी कई सारे वोल्टेज हैं जिसपे हम पावर जनरेट करते हैं, दैट इज 13.2 या 15.75 या 22 केवीए। अब पहला क्वेश्चन आता है, व्हाट इज द मैक्सिमम पावर जनरेशन इन इंडिया। तो जो मैक्सिमम पावर हम जनरेट करते हैं वो हम जनरेट करते हैं 25 केवीए पे, या 25 केवीए से अगर ऊपर जनरेट करेंगे तो हमें क्या प्रॉब्लम फेस करते हैं, आइए चेक करते हैं। तो सीधा क्वेश्चन है, व्हाई इन इंडिया मैक्सिमम जनरेटिंग वोल्टेज इज 25 केवीए, और ये 25 केवीए जनरेट होता है एनटीपीसी करीमनगर इन तेलंगाना। इससे ज्यादा पे हम जनरेट क्यों नहीं कर पाते हैं? सीधा वन वर्ड आंसर है, इंसुलेशन प्रॉब्लम। आइए डेरिवेशन के थ्रू से चेक करते हैं। जितना ज्यादा वोल्टेज इंक्रीज होता है उस कंडीशन में करंट रिड्यूस होता है, और हमें पता है R इक्वल्स टू रो L अपॉन A इज एरिया और R इक्वल्स टू V अपॉन I। तो दोनों इक्वेशन से अगर हम कंपेयर करें, करंट इज डायरेक्टली प्रोपोर्शनल टू एरिया। अगर करंट रिड्यूस होगा तो एरिया भी रिड्यूस होगा। तो जितना ज्यादा हम करंट रिड्यूस करेंगे उतना ही ज्यादा अल्टरनेटर का एरिया रिड्यूस होगा। तो साइज ऑफ अल्टरनेटर, सिंबल्स मैंने इंडिकेट किया है, विल रिड्यूस, और जितना ज्यादा अल्टरनेटर का साइज रिड्यूस होगा उतनी हमें प्रॉब्लम फेस करनी पड़ेगी उसे इंसुलेशन प्रोवाइड करने में। तो ये रीजन है हम 25 केवीए से ज्यादा जनरेट नहीं कर सकते हैं। लेकिन एक कंट्री जापान, जहां पे पावर जनरेशन 40 केवीए तक होता है, बट वो टॉप सीक्रेट है जापान गवर्नमेंट का, और उन्होंने अभी तक ओपन नहीं किया है। पावर जनरेशन के बाद ट्रांसमिशन लाइन के थ्रू हम पावर को ट्रांसमिट करते हैं टू कंज्यूमर्स तक। कंज्यूमर्स हो सकते हैं इंडस्ट्रियल कंज्यूमर्स, जो 11 केवीए या फिर 415 केवीए का सप्लाई वोल्टेज लेते हैं, या फिर एंड कंज्यूमर्स जो हमारे घर तक 220 या 240 वोल्ट तक सप्लाई आती है। तो दूसरा क्वेश्चन जो हम फेस करते हैं, व्हाई वी रिक्वायर द ट्रांसमिशन लाइन्स। तो इस क्वेश्चन को भी हम डायरेक्ट देखते हैं, व्हाई ट्रांसमिशन लाइन्स आर रिक्वायर्ड। जो पावर प्लांट्स होते हैं आर ऑलवेज कंस्ट्रक्टेड इन रूरल एरियाज, विलेजेस में कंस्ट्रक्ट होते हैं, बट पावर डिमांड इज मोर इन सिटीज। इसीलिए हमें ट्रांसमिशन लाइन्स की रिक्वायरमेंट होती है। कोई टेक्निकल रीजन नहीं है, एक बिजनेस वाला रीजन है इसके पीछे कि हम रूरल एरियाज में पावर प्लांट क्यों जनरेट करते हैं। बिकॉज जो लैंड अवेलेबिलिटी ऑफ लैंड है वो रूरल एरिया में इजीली अवेलेबल हो जाता है, कॉस्ट ऑफ लैंड भी चीप होती है, और वहां पे पानी की प्रॉब्लम्स भी नहीं होती हैं। और कुछ गवर्नमेंट पॉलिसीज भी रहती हैं कि आप पावर प्लांट्स को सिटीज में ओपन नहीं कर सकते हैं, क्योंकि वहां पे पॉपुलेशन ज्यादा होती है और कई बार हमें प्रॉब्लम फेस भी करनी पड़ती है। तो यही मोस्ट कॉमन रीजंस हैं जिसके कारण हमें ट्रांसमिशन लाइन्स की रिक्वायरमेंट होती है। एक बार फिर से हम अपने सिंगल लाइन डायग्राम पर आते हैं, जिसमें हमने पावर जनरेट किया है 11 केवीए, स्टैंडर्ड इज 11 केवीए। उसके बाद हमने इसे स्टेप अप ट्रांसफार्मर के थ्रू वोल्टेज को इंक्रीज किया है टू 132 केवीए तक। उसके बाद हमने इसे पावर ट्रांसमिट की है बाय द हेल्प ऑफ द ट्रांसमिशन लाइन। तो ये हो गया अपना प्राइमरी ट्रांसमिशन। उसके बाद हमने द्वारा से स्टेप डाउन ट्रांसफार्मर का यूज किया है, जिससे 132 केवीए को हमने 32 केवीए में स्टेप डाउन किया हुआ है वोल्टेज को, और ये पावर अपने रिसीविंग स्टेशन पे आ जाती है। रिसीविंग स्टेशन से सब स्टेशन तक सेकेंडरी ट्रांसमिशन यूज होता है, जिसमें हम वोल्टेज को 33 केवीए से 11 केवीए तक कन्वर्ट करते हैं। तो अभी तक इतनी प्रोसेस में हमने अभी तक पावर को डिस्ट्रीब्यूट नहीं किया है, क्योंकि हाई वोल्टेज है और इस वोल्टेज पे पावर डिस्ट्रीब्यूट पॉसिबल नहीं है। अब बात करते हैं डिस्ट्रीब्यूशन की। तो डिस्ट्रीब्यूशन स्टार्ट होता है अपना सब स्टेशन से, जिसमें हम 11 केवीए से 415 वोल्टेज तक पावर को रिड्यूस करते हैं। और 415 वोल्ट में डिस्ट्रीब्यूशन में अपने रिक्वायरमेंट होती है इंडस्ट्रीज के लिए 3 फेज सप्लाई, या फिर एग्रीकल्चर मोटर चलाने के लिए 3 फेज सप्लाई। और सेकेंडरी डिस्ट्रीब्यूशन में हम 415 को 240 पे रिड्यूस कर देते हैं एंड कंज्यूमर्स तक के लिए, जो हमारे घर तक सप्लाई आती है। तो ये पूरा प्रोसेस है जिसमें पावर जनरेट होती है, फिर ट्रांसमिशन के थ्रू इंडस्ट्रीज या फिर हमारे घर तक आती है। अब मोस्ट इंपॉर्टेंट क्वेश्चन जो है पावर सिस्टम में, वो ये आता है हमारे दिमाग में कि हमने पावर जनरेट किया 11 केवीए पे, और उसके बाद उसे फिर से लास्ट में स्टेप अप या फिर स्टेप डाउन करने के बाद 11 केवीए पे हमने बना दिया वोल्टेज। तो डायरेक्ट हम 11 केवीए से 11 केवीए ट्रांसमिट क्यों नहीं कर सकते? तो इस क्वेश्चन को भी हम चेक कर लेते हैं। तो क्वेश्चन है व्हाई हाई वोल्टेज ट्रांसमिशन इज यूज्ड, या फिर हाई वोल्टेज ट्रांसमिशन इज रिक्वायर्ड। सपोज वी आर सेंडिंग पावर P फ्रॉम पावर स्टेशन टू द एंड यूजर्स। तो पावर सिस्टम के अंदर उस पावर लाइन में कुछ रेजिस्टेंस होगा जिसके कारण पावर लॉस होगी। लेट पावर लॉस बी I² R, और रेजिस्टेंस है तो पावर लॉस होगी, जिसमें I क्या है आपका करंट है ऑफ पावर लाइन, और उस पावर लाइन में कुछ वोल्टेज होगा वो हमने V से डिनोट किया है, जिसका मतलब P इक्वल्स टू VI, देयरफॉर I इक्वल्स टू P अपॉन V। इसको हम डायरेक्ट इसमें सब्स्टिट्यूट कर देंगे तो पावर लॉस आ जाएगी आपकी P² R अपॉन V², दैट इज पावर लॉस्ट इज डायरेक्टली प्रोपोर्शनल टू 1 अपॉन V²। तो जितना ज्यादा वोल्टेज होगा उतना ही पावर लॉस कम होगी, इसलिए हम पावर को जो ट्रांसमिट करते हैं वो हाई वोल्टेज पे करते हैं, ना कि लो वोल्टेज पे। तो ये पूरा सिस्टम था।
Station. Now, if you vaguely understand how the power system works, if you can observe, electricity or electrical energy is generated at generating stations. Usually the generation voltage will be from 11 kV to 13 kV. Nowadays it is up from 11 kV to, we are generating power electricity at voltages from 11 kV to 30 kV. 11 kV to, okay, next after that there will be a step up transformer which steps up the voltage from lower voltage to higher voltage, usually in the range of 200 to 500 kV. And then this is a primary transmission. Again there will be a step down transformer, that is a substation where the voltage is stepped down from that high voltage to medium voltage. Usually the step down occurs, suppose this is a 500 kV line, so the steps down, let us say it is occurring from 500 kV to say 132 kV. Again the secondary transmission occurs from 132 kV. Again in the vicinity of any town or a city, there would be again a stepping down transformer housed in the substation. Suppose here it is stepping down the voltage from 132 kV to, let us say, 132 kV on HT side to 33 kV or 11 kV, any voltage. So this stepping down, after this the distribution, primary distribution starts. Primary distribution again is carried by 3-phase 3-wire system. So again here it will be stepped down to the nominal voltage. Suppose the primary voltage is 33 kV, it will be stepped down from 33 kV to 415 volts. So again it would be distributed at 415 volts to the domestic customers. So vaguely you have a generation, you have a step up transformer, transmission, again step down transformer, again the secondary transmission, again you are stepping down the voltages and bringing down to the voltage levels which we have to distribute to the customers. Industrial customers can be directly fed at higher voltages, say at, they may be fed at 132 kV or 33 kV directly, depending upon the.
Then where do we get the electricity from? Electricity is also a form of energy that we get when we convert other forms of energies like thermal energy, solar energy, kinetic energy, nuclear energy, and chemical energy. All these energies come from two groups of resources. Ones that can be used repeatedly are renewable resources. We can never run out of renewable resources. For example, sun, wind, and rivers are sources of renewable energies. And the other resources that are not readily replaced by the nature are called non-renewable resources. Fossil fuels like petroleum are examples of non-renewable resources. It can take billions of years for Earth to form these resources, and hence their use is not sustainable. Now that we understood what renewable and non-renewable resources are, let's see how these resources are used to generate electrical energy. Let us take a few examples and collectively understand how the entire process works. Here we have coal, windmills, hydropower station, solar thermal power plant, and a nuclear power plant. We burn coal, and the heat which is generated is used to turn water into steam, and the steam is then used to spin large turbines. Windmills harness the power of the wind and use it to spin the turbines. In hydropower stations, force of water is used to spin the turbines. In solar thermal power plant, heat energy from the sun is directed to a single point. When we pass water through that point, it turns into steam, and the steam is then used to spin the turbines. Even in a nuclear power plant, splitting of uranium atoms takes place. This process produces huge amount of heat energy, which is then used to turn water into steam, and again the steam helps us to spin the turbines. Now we just saw that all these resources are primarily used to spin the turbines. But how can spinning turbines produce electricity? The turbines of these power plants are connected to an appliance called a generator. A generator converts the mechanical energy caused due to the spinning of turbines into electrical energy.
तो इसमें से किसी भी तरह की कोई गंदगी वगैरह प्रोड्यूस नहीं होती है, तो ये बहुत ही ज़्यादा साफ़ सुथरा कहें तो एक एनर्जी है जिसे हम लोग यूज़ करते हैं। दूसरा जो इसका एडवांटेज है वो ये है कि ये ईज़िली कंट्रोल की जा सकती है। अगर हमें किसी भी इलेक्ट्रिकल अप्लायंसेस को कंट्रोल करना हो तो बहुत ही ईज़िली तरीके से एक स्विच के द्वारा हम इसे कंट्रोल कर सकते हैं। तीसरा जो इसका एडवांटेज है वो है फ्लेक्सिबल। अगर हमारा अप्लायंसेस किसी भी डायरेक्शन में किसी भी प्लेस पे रखा हुआ है तो हम लोग वायर के थ्रू इसे घुमा फिरा के वहाँ तक पहुँचा सकते हैं। मतलब इसे ये बहुत ही फ्लेक्सिबल एनर्जी है। चौथा जो हमारा है वो है एफिशिएंसी। तो इलेक्ट्रिकल एनर्जी की बहुत ज़्यादा एफिशिएंसी होती है। इसका अगर हम लोग इनपुट देते हैं लगभग हमें उतना ही आउटपुट मिल जाता है। पांचवी जो इसका एडवांटेज है वो है ट्रांसमिट। इसको हम लोग कितनी भी दूरी हो, बहुत ज़्यादा दूरी हो, कम दूरी हो, मतलब कितनी भी दूरी हो हम इसको इसलिए ट्रांसमिट कर सकते हैं। छठा जो हमारा है वो है ये इको फ्रेंडली है। इसमें से किसी तरह का कोई धुआं वगैरह नहीं निकलता है, तो इसलिए ये हमारा एक इको फ्रेंडली एनर्जी है। हमारी जो सातवां एडवांटेज है वो है नॉइज़लेस। मतलब जब हम इस एनर्जी को यूज़ करते हैं तो इसमें से किसी तरह की कोई आवाज़ वगैरह नहीं निकलती है जैसे कि और एनर्जी के सोर्सेज में निकलती है। आठवां जो हमारा इसका एडवांटेज है वो है इसे ईज़िली कन्वर्ट किया जा सकता है एक फॉर्म से दूसरे फॉर्म में। जैसे कि हमारा बल्ब है, इलेक्ट्रिकल एनर्जी को लेता है और सीधा लाइट एनर्जी में कन्वर्ट कर देता है। दूसरा हमारा मोटर्स वगैरह, फैंस वगैरह हो गए, ये डायरेक्टली इलेक्ट्रिकल एनर्जी को लेते हैं और मैकेनिकल फॉर्म में कन्वर्ट कर देते हैं। ऐसे ही हमारा स्पीकर वगैरह हो गए, ये क्या करते हैं इलेक्ट्रिकल एनर्जी को लेते हैं और साउंड एनर्जी में कन्वर्ट कर देते हैं। तो इसी तरह इसमें जो क्या है कि हमारा किसी भी एनर्जी फॉर्म को ईजिली दूसरी फॉर्म में कन्वर्ट।
We now understand the load curve completely, and in this presentation we will talk about base load plants and peak load plants. You can see the load curve on your screen. The y-axis is for the power in megawatt, the x-axis is for time in hour, and you can see we are starting from 0 hour and we are ending at 24 hours. This means this particular load curve is daily load curve. We also have monthly load curves, and yearly load curves, but we mainly focus on daily load curves. This is the variation of the load in 24 hours, and we saw two terms in the load curve. The first one was base load, and the second one was peak load. In this plot, this one is the base load. We are calling this much of power as the base load because for 24 hours we need to supply at least this amount of power continuously, because when you see at this time you will find this is the minimum load we need to transfer, and after that the load will rise continuously, but this is the minimum load. The load does not goes lower than this. Therefore, for 24 hours we need to supply at least this amount of load, and we call it base load. Let's talk about the peak load. This is the maximum load we need to supply in the 24 hours. You can see peak here, and corresponding to this peak we have peak load, and in between we have the intermediate cycling load, We already discussed these things in the last lecture, and now we will talk about base load plants and peak load plants. Let's start with base load plants. So what are base load plants? Base load plants are the plants which are required to provide the power continuously. They are used to provide the electrical power or supply the electrical power continuously. And the first type of base load plant is thermal plant. The second type is hydro plant. The third one is nuclear power plant. The fourth one is wind turbines, and the fifth one is solar. The sixth one is the runoff river. I hope you must have heard about first to fifth type of plants. The sixth one is new, and in the coming presentations we are going to discuss all of these different plants, so no need to worry about them, their working and what are they. In this lecture we will try to discuss why we use them as base load plants. But before that, I will quickly write down what are peak load plants, what are peak load plants. Hydropower plant we use as base load plant as well as peak load plant. So the first thing is hydro plant. The second one is pumped storage. I will explain what is pumped storage. The third one is diesel plant. The fourth one and the last one is the gas.
So while calculating the various terms, these are the various terms of economics of power generation, that is load factor, then utility factor, then plant operating factor, plant capacity factor, demand factor, diversity factor, load curve and load duration curve. So we will start with our first term, that is load factor. So before that I am going to explain you that what is the meaning of an average load and peak load. So average load means, suppose if in a particular building or in a particular village there are around suppose 100 houses, so the average load, the load required by all the houses will be averaged out and divided by the peak load during that particular period. The peak load means the highest load which has been observed. So therefore this is the ratio. So load factor is defined as the ratio of average load to the peak load during a certain prescribed period of time. So while calculating load factor, the major requirement is we should have two values. First value should be of average load and other value should be of the peak load. So the load factor of a power plant should be high so that the total capacity of the plant is utilized for the maximum period. That will result in lower cost of electricity being generated. So what is the meaning of this sentence is, if load factor is high, then all the total capacity will be utilized. Means suppose if a power plant is having a capacity of around 100 megawatts, so if that 100 megawatt power is utilized, suppose out of the 100 megawatt, if 90 megawatt power is utilized, then the load factor becomes 0.9. so therefore from the maximum capacity around 0.9 the capacity is utilized, then we can say that the load factor will be higher. So it is always less than unity, and high load factor is a desirable quality. Then higher load factor means a greater average load, resulting in greater number of power units generated for a given maximum demand. Means depending upon the maximum demand of a particular system, the average the load factor means that there are greater number of power units are generated for the maximum demand. Then the fixed cost, which is proportional to the maximum demand, can be distributed over a greater number of units, that is kilowatt hour supplied. So this will lower the overall cost of the supply of electrical energy. So as we explained just now, that if higher load factor is there, then the capacity or of the supply of electrical energy will be less. If the load factor is less, then the cost of electrical energy will be more. So this is the formula for calculating load factor: average load over a given time interval divided by peak load during the same time interval. So you can see here that kilowatt hour, that is average in a year, divided by kilowatt maximum into 8760. Now what is this 8760? So basically see that in one day we are having 24 hours, and this 8760 is equal to number of hours in 1 year. So if you multiply this 24 by 365, considering a general year, so therefore 365 into 24, it will give us the 1 year equal to 8760 hours. Now example, we will take one example. If a plant has a peak load of 1000 megawatt, but the average annual load is only 350 megawatt. So see that the plant is having a peak load of 1000 megawatt. So it is equal to the installed capacity 1000 megawatt, but the only average load is 350 megawatt. Then its annual load factor becomes 0.35. So see now, as its load factor is only 0.35, it means that most of its capacity remains unutilized for major part of the year, and therefore the cost of generating the electrical power will be higher. In one example which we earlier mentioned, it was having 0.9 load factor, so which was a higher load factor. So therefore the cost of electrical generation was less. But in this case now, if load factor is 0.35, then the cost of electrical energy generation will be higher. Now the example of a load factor. Now you can see a dotted line on this chart. Two dotted lines are there. One is the average load, means the average of all the demands, and the peak load is the maximum load. Now you can see that on x-axis, this is just shown as a typical load curve. On x-axis we are having time in hours from 12 am to 12 up to 12 am again, and load on the y-axis in kilowatt or megawatt. So the intrusion which is shown, that is a load curve, and the maximum load is peak load. So for calculating average load, it will be the area under load curve, that is kilowatt hour, divided by 24 hours. So how to calculate this area under load curve? I will give you one example. If at 3 am the average load is 10 megawatt or 10 kilowatt, and at 6 it is having again 10 kilowatt, so for calculating area under load curve, it will be into bracket 3 into 10 bracket complete plus 6 into 10. So the actual for calculating area under load curve, so from 3 to 6 there are only 3 hours, so 3 into 10 plus 3 into 10, so that will be the area under load curve. So basically this load curve will determine the way in which the average load is calculated. At the same time it will give us the flow of the demand for a particular time. So therefore this is nothing but whenever a timely basis the particular load curve is drawn, we say that this load curve is a daily load curve, because the time of a particular day is given. If these days from hours are changed into days, then that becomes a monthly load curve. If these days are changed to months, then this becomes a yearly or an annual load curve. Second, utility factor. It is the ratio of units of electricity generated per year to the capacity of plant installed in the station. It is also defined as ratio of maximum demand of a plant to the rated capacity of the plant. So here again we will have one example. Supposing the rated capacity of a plant is 200 megawatt. So this is the maximum capacity of a particular plant, 200 megawatt. Maximum load on the plant is 100 megawatt at load factor of 80%. So how to calculate utility factor? Here just see the given values. Rated capacity is 200, maximum load on the plant is 100 megawatt, load factor is 80%. So therefore utility factor will be 100 into 80 divided by 200, that is 80% means 0.8. So the utility factor becomes 40%. So what does it mean? It means that the installed capacity is maximum and only 40% of demand is received from the human beings or from any commercial, residential or industrial systems. So the utility factor is calculated in this way. Then third, plant operating factor. It is the ratio of the duration during which the plant is in actual service to the total duration of the period of time considered. So here while calculating plant operating factor, the only hours or the duration under which the plant has been running to the total duration of the period of time considered. So we can take one example, that if suppose 12 months is the particular duration of the time considered, and out of the 12 months only 9 months the plant is in operation, so therefore it will be the ratio of 9:12. Then plant capacity factor. It is the ratio of the average loads on a machine or equipment to the rating of the machine or equipment for a certain period of time considered. So again, as compared to plant operating factor, if you consider the capacity of the plant, so therefore it is the ratio of average loads on the machine to the rating of the machine for a certain period of time. In this way we are calculating the plant capacity factor. Then again see, it is also known as the since the load and diversity factors are not involved with reserve capacity of power plant, a factor is needed which will measure the reserve, likewise the degree of utilization of installed equipment. So therefore it is equal to average load divided by rated capacity of the plant. So what is average load? Kilowatt per hour generated in a year divided by rated capacity is the number of hours, that is 24 into 365 into the maximum load on the plant, or that is the rated capacity of the plant. So kilowatt generation per year divided by the installed capacity into 8760. Then fifth, demand factor. The actual maximum demand of a consumer is always less than his connected load, since all the appliances in his residence will not be in operation at the same time or to their fullest extent. So this is the big sentence or the important sentence here for calculating demand factor. See that the connected load in our houses, we know that it is 220 volts power is coming inside our residential houses. So at the same time we are always not running the all the devices, like some way we require only fan, or sometimes we require only television sets, etc. So the demand factor is always less than the connecting load. So the ratio of maximum demand of a system to its connected load is termed as demand factor. So it is always less than unity. So it is equal to actual maximum demand divided by total connected demand. Then sixth, diversity factor. It is the sum of the individual maximum demands divided by maximum demand of the total group. Now whenever there is a diversity factor coming into existence, we require one or more maximum demands. So this will be equal to a maximum connections of a particular plant, or the maximum utilization of a particular area where n number of houses are present. So the is equal to sum of individual consumer groups divided by actual peak load of the system. So the capacity of the plant will be smaller, resulting in fixed charges. So also in comparison with diversity factor, we are having a plant use factor, which is the ratio of energy produced in a given time to the maximal possible energy that could have been produced during the same time of operation. Again I will repeat, plant use factor is the ratio of energy produced in a given time to the maximum possible energy that could have been produced during the same time of operation. It means that the extent up to which we are using the appliances in our houses like machines etc., so they are not running to their full efficiency. So the actual energy produced at the same time as the energy which could have been produced by the same time of operation. So it is equal to plant use factor. Now see this is a chart which is representing the different factors. So we have written the ratio also. Load factor equal to average load by peak load, use factor equal to peak load by plant capacity, and capacity factor equal to average load divided by plant capacity. So use factor is related with peak load and capacity factor is related with the average load. So the graph which is showing a load curve is having the maximum point as peak load, lower point, or that is the average point, as the average load, and you can see that top above the peak load we are having the plant capacity, because as we have mentioned in the earlier slides that the systems which we are connecting to our electric power system are not running to their fullest capacity. So we can take one example that plant capacity is 200 megawatt, then peak load will be 180 megawatt and average load will be 100 megawatt. So this is the way in which the representation of different factors is done. Now seventh, it is a load curve. Now it is a curve showing the variation of power with time. It shows the value of a specific load for each unit of the period covered. The unit of time considered may be hour, days, weeks, months or years. So as we have explained again that the x-axis which is showing us the time of AM and PM, that can be replaced by hours to day, from days to months, from months to years, and the left hand side, that is y-axis, it will be always constant. It will be the power or the load connected at that particular point, and then we are going to plot these load curves. So the center point which is shown here, the curve which is shown, this is nothing but a load curve. Then load duration curve. Now see, there is a big difference between load curve and load duration curve. In load curve, only the time is more important, and based on that time we are plotting the load curve. Load duration curve is very